Shortly after, into three-handed play, I pick up a premium looking hand, ace queen offsuit on the button. I'm first to act and raise it up to 175. Looks like both of these other players have playable hands as they make the call, so we're going three ways to a flop of king 9-7, two clubs. Action checks to me. I have totally whiffed this flop, and I don't have many intentions on bluffing into two players here multi-way. So I take my free card and check back, which comes the ace of hearts. Amazing card to see here, and once again, action checks to me. So feeling pretty confident I'm ahead with top pair and the best kicker possible now. I bet out 225,000. Definitely a card I would bet with a lot of bluffs here on an ace-king high board. And for 225, the small blind folds, but the big blind chip leader check raises for 625,000. I certainly can't fold just yet here. It's a really interesting spot where he's check raising on a board that favors me a lot. It's hard to find some bluffs, but my hand just serves way too good instead of folding, and raising is definitely an overplay, so I make the call and see a river. River is the 4 of hearts, and with a huge pot ballooning, he decides to go all in. This is a pretty gross spot to be in when facing an effective pot size jam, a little bit over the size of the pot. There's about 1.8 million in the pot, and my stack is 1.9 million. I count it out and I go for my options. Like, this is weird. Like, I'm calling after my tournament life, facing a check raise on the turn, then a pot size all in on the river here. I'm sitting with basically one of the best hands I'll ever have in this spot with top pair and essentially top kicker. But is anyone ever bluffing in this spot? Is this guy really trying to apply maximum pressure on a board that should smash me? Not entirely sure, but I certainly lose to basically just king 9, king 7, and that's the only hand that makes sense besides sets as well. But I think sets and pocket pairs would have gone all in pre-flop. So I'm not sure what I lose to. And if he's overplaying a worse ace, then I just pick up piles and piles of chips, but I'm not sure this player's going to do that. Ultimately, I end up thinking that my hand is way too good to fold. And for my tournament life, I'm not here to just try to chip up and make a pay jump. I'm here to win, and I think it's a good spot to find a double up. I flick in a call, and he shows us 9-7 for flopped bottom 2 pair and getting maximum value after a really good turn for him. Awful turn for us, and that's GG's. We are out in third place, booking a $20,000 payday. And a big shout out to my opponent here who stacked me. He shortly goes on and stacks the other player, and he's crowned the WSOP ring and the first place prize of just under $50,000. Things have been going so well, smooth sailings here, and even better, I pick up pocket aces. Rockets, the best hand in poker. I'm in the low jack and raise it up to 3,500 when the blinds are 1,600. Folds around to the big blind, and he defends with a massive stack. So trying to play for stacks here somehow, and the flop comes 8-6-5 all spades. Not really the kind of flop I was looking to get all of my chips in. And even worse, this big blind player decides to lead for 2,500. Here with aces, not much to do. Obviously not raising. I'm not folding. I'm just going to make the call and hope for a clean run out. The turn comes up board pairing 6, which looks pretty good for me. It eliminates some combinations of sets, and I have the best 2 pair holdings. So anyways, he decides to check on this card now, and I'm happy to just check this one back. It's a pretty scary board. I'm only sitting with 1 pair. Granted, it is the best pair. Anyways, the river is a jack, so the run out is pretty clean for aces here, and he decides to bet out 3,000 now. Such a small bet, and I'm thinking if there's any way that I can raise for value here. I have the best 2 pair combo. Like I said, I can get some value from 8x or even jack x, and I decided to go for it with aces. I think I might be able to just call with worse pocket pairs, but I have the best pocket pair. I raise it up to 16,000, and I'm thinking that if he raises again, I certainly would have to fold, but it doesn't come down to that. He snap calls, which also isn't a good sign. He has king 6 offsuit, so got there on the turn, and I value owned myself on the river. Sad to see aces get cracked against the big stack. After finding a full triple up, things are going well. I pick up 7-4 of diamonds in the big blind. Action folded around to the small blind player who limped in for 500. Seems like he's the passive type. And because of that, this is a good hand to double down in blackjack. I decided to 3x his limp. I raise up to 1500, playing in position. He decides on a call. So we're going to a flop of 10 deuce-deuce rainbow. He checks blind in the dark here, and given that, don't think he's going to have too strong of a holding, I decided to bet 800. And for 800, he snap calls, so that's not a great sign. But when the turn is the 3 of diamonds, he checks dark again. Confused about what he's doing here, and I'm just gonna go for pure aggression, hoping to fold out whatever he's holding. I bet out 2200, and again, he makes the call, so maybe he can have a 10? Unsure, but when the river comes an ace, he checks in the dark for a third time, and this is either the worst or best card for me. Worst as in if he was calling with ace high, now he has top pair. Best card is that if he was calling with a 10, then I'm going to bluff and hopefully get him to fold his pair. Anyways, I decide to blast off 3700 and he quickly calls with ace 4. So that's a bummer. After a big triple up, I punt off some chips and I'm back down to 22,000 in stack.